I've never met an Israeli who can agree. I've talked to one Israeli and they have two opinions on Israeli politics. Like, it's a very nuanced conversation. It's not black and white. And I can concede with you too, there are some strands of the Zionist Christian movement that does lean more towards prosperity gospel teaching. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think any of us subscribe to that. So just to kind of lean into, there are some nuances. I don't know.
The reason why I did this and this is because that word obligation. I don't believe that we have an obligation. I believe that we have a calling. And that's separate from obligation.
Right. As a Christian, as an inheritor of the blessings of Israel, I see that as a calling to defend Israel and to defend the Jewish people. And also just coming from a geopolitical background, I have many other reasons for defending Israel that are secular, that are outside of the Bible. But yeah, I think the mandate or obligation of that is something I think what you're talking about, replacement theology, and how that kind of characterizes what you guys believe. And we can call it supersessionism also too from now on in this debate, if that's more technically appropriate for you guys. But I think what the other side of this conversation tends to do is characterize it as, oh, you condition salvation on support for the monostate of Israel. And that's not true. That's not where we stand.
I just have to question people's morality, because when it comes to Israel, Jesus consistently throughout scripture always stood with the oppressed. And when we see what's currently happening in Gaza, the Palestinians do not have rights. It became an apartheid state once they took over. And
who took over?
The Jewish people.
Hamas in 2005.
Well, I mean, if you're oppressed for decades, and if you were ripped out of your house, violently massacred, and your human rights were taken away, like, there's retaliation that eventually occurs.
You're saying it's justified?
I don't think it's justified ever when civilians die. But if 1,200 Israelis died from Hamas, what about the 70,000 Palestinians that are being slaughtered today? Every single day they're being slaughtered. There is a current genocide.
Well, first off, the population in Gaza has actually increased since 2023, birth rates.
Why do you guys have more, hold on, I have to say this. Why do you guys have more grace for, the Jewish people in Israel than Christian Palestinians?
Well, that's a great point. The Christian Palestinian population has almost halved under Hamas's leadership because of marriage laws under Sharia Islam, political Islam. You can't intermarry with other faiths. So there's birth rates, or birth statistics that contribute to that. So there's many externalities besides conventional war that contribute to it. War is horrific. That's not what we're debating here.
Okay, but the truth is that the Jewish people have been the ones who are destroying the oldest churches in the region.
No, really quick. So Cardinal Pizzaballa, who's the cardinal in Jerusalem, actually spoke out about 3 months after October 7th and stated that Hamas had unfortunately been using our religious holy sites, the churches, to store weapons in, to fire rockets from. The most recent incident, it was a piece of shrapnel that hit our church because Hamas was directly firing rockets from exactly behind it. If you're upset about this, then I highly recommend you be upset about the fact that Islamic extremists went in to the last Christian bookstore in Gaza, firebombed it, and then murdered the bookstore owner of it. There are no Christian bookstores left in Gaza. If you're upset about Palestinian Christians and how they're being treated, I suggest you call out the Palestinian Authority, because under their rule, we have seen the Christian population in Bethlehem, of all places, dwindle from 80% under Israel's leadership to less than 20% because of the laws that are imposed against them, because of the belief system. We have seen Christians be oppressed and actually genocided from the entirety of the Middle East, essentially under one specific religion, and that religion is Islam. So you're not going to be able to successfully push this onto Judaism, which is the only country, Israel's the only country in the Middle East where we have seen the Christian population rather increase instead of decrease, where they have the right to practice their religion freely and openly.
And Israel has offered cook. As the kids say. But this woman is just gonna say, I completely disagree, and have some made up points that she came up of with, like Jesus burning in hell and some other, made up conspiracy blood libel bullshit.
Hold on here. That's not true. First of all, have you not seen the videos of Christians getting spit on in Israel.
Oh
I'm
my
talking
God.
about people being murdered.
Yeah, again.
There have like the one or two Christians that get spit on, but like, of course that happens. Of course there are people who do that, of course. But like, you've talked to the majority of Christians who have gone and lived in Israel and visited Israel. They have majority of the time, generally speaking, good, positive experiences. And the Christians who live in Israel have good, positive lives. Unlike if you live under Sharia law or jihadist law like Hamas or Islam in Islamic states. Because, you know, Tucker Carlson wanted to make that comparison and he got debunked about all the churches and stuff because, well, Tucker Carlson just makes shit up and talks out of his ass. But anyways, of course she would bring up that. Like all she knows is the talking points she sees on X and the one word phrases and then can't go into much detail about it.
The Jewish people do not support Christianity. They don't support Christians at all.
Then why is there freedom of religion in Israel?
I am a Christian Gentile from Israel. I am perfectly safe there. I grew up there most of my life. I worshiped in public. We're allowed to proselytize. We're allowed to share the truth of Yeshua. I spent every summer going to a summer camp called Dor Haba, which means the next generation, with Arab believers, Israeli believers, coming together to praise Yeshua out in the open, out in public. This was my life. So I find it really interesting that you guys want to stand here and tell me how Christians are persecuted and say what I have to say is propaganda. My life was not a propaganda like psyop. I would dare to say that your guys' information coming from the screen might have been.